Hello again, fellow Mythic mat chasing tacticians. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're here to talk about the Tyranid campaign event, the only place where you can farm the mutant form Mythic upgrade material. Now if you saw my AdMech video and were hoping for more of the same, namely 3-starring with the most useful characters at D3 and leaving the rest at Epic Gold 1, I'm sorry but you can tune out now. This event is significantly harder and requires way more upfront investment. To be honest, I almost didn't make this video. I actually rage quit after needing super juiced units to 3-star battle 25. But a friendly subscriber pointed out the roster they used and I was able to roll with it, actually using a slightly lower roster and power through. I still ended up needing D2s and D3s to get even 1 star in each battle, though the boss battle is the easiest and you can get a 3-star with that roster. I won't show that fight here, but if you're interested, let me know in the comments and I can upload it separately. I needed 4 Mythic D3s and 2 Legendary 5 D3s to 3-star every battle in the tier. And I want to talk about why I'm not necessarily happy with it, but I am okay with it. When I look at the units in question I needed at D3, they're Bellator, Calgar, Mephiston, and Dante. The former are part of the classic multi-hit team, which still to this day is an excellent raid team. The latter two are both meta raid characters. Dante on the Custodes team, and Mephiston is a flex character in both the Custodes team and the Neuro team. The other two, Incisus and Titus, are both really good in legendary events, so getting them to Diamond 2 is not completely absurd, whereas bringing the DG Bozos to legendary is a waste for all but the most foul heretics. Let's then place this roster in the context of campaign events, which are meant as endgame content. Snowprint will not come out and define endgame, but it's clearly for people with maxed out raid teams who can blue star or even get mythic characters in their second legendary event. That's what we're getting at. So if you're like me and don't even have a full D3 raid team yet, you have to understand that this is not for you. I'm sorry, I really am. One day you can think of going after this event, but I would advise against it today. So anyways, back to the roster. Let's start with the all-star of the event, Mephiston. Honestly, now that his passive can be modified, he and Dante are just amazing here. A friend on Discord coined the term Dante Meph Bomb, and he is absolutely right. Those two can cut through enemies like there's no tomorrow. As you can see, we have him at D3 Mythic 50/50 with an Archaeotech bolt pistol, not a relic bolt pistol, nor his own relic. And again, he's a meta raid character, so I have no qualms about giving him good equipment nor boosting his abilities. Next up is Titus, again Mythic D3, this time with a relic bolt pistol, albeit only level 1, so the added pierce from the Mythic is marginal. His active isn't that important, so it's at 45, but his passive matters in a few battles and it's all the way to 50. On to our healer Incisus. He has a non-relic Mythic bolt pistol, his abilities are at 48-46, and yes, he's Mythic. Bellator is the third and final required character in the event. He has a level 50 active and a level 36 passive, and all Mythic 1 equipment. His weapon is not a relic. Dante is at 5-star legendary instead of Mythic, because I just don't think many people besides the top players have him beyond that. Since he's a meta raid character, he has a maxed legendary gun, level 6 block items, and his passive is at 50. Finally, we have another multi-hit meta raid character in Marneus Calgar. We have him at legendary 5-star to boost his passive, which is maxed. His active with an all D3 cast wasn't really necessary, but with a mixture of D2s and D3s, it absolutely was. For my run through with non-mythic characters, everyone was legendary 4-star, and Titus and Incisus were D2, while everyone else was D3. On to the battles. Battle 23 sees us face a small squadron of Tyranid warriors. As in every battle, you're going to want to seek out tall grass whenever possible. And of all the characters, you can leave Titus exposed as long as he's next to Incisus, since he'll get at least 1 revive. Dante will be a mainstay for us since he buffs Bellator and his summons. Calgar is useful mostly in the earlier battles where it's about surviving, and Mephiston is more useful in the later battles where it's about blitzkrieging the enemies. So we'll start by seeking out tall grass and protecting Incisus and Dante. We can bring Titus forward adjacent to Calgar, take out 1 warrior, then position Dante before calling in some Inceptors, and finally moving Incisus adjacent to Titus. In the next round, the warriors get their extra block, so we fall back to a more defensive posture and pray. From here, we can actually stay in the corner and turtle, keeping Titus exposed next to Incisus, and let the Tyranid warriors do most of the work for us. 24 is, on paper, one of the easier ones with only 2 warriors, but then you realize there are barbs. We again form a defensive posture, keeping Incisus and Dante protected. Our primary goal has to be to take out the barbs, or isolate them and bring them into melee, since if they aren't in synapse range, they'll stay in melee. Once the warriors go down, the rest of the battle is actually quite easy. Okay, 25 is the battle that made me rage quit when I first tried to play through. I think though that if you get the opening right, the rest falls into place pretty easily. Unlike in Arena, you can't ignore the spore mines here because they will absolutely wreck you. So let's focus on the enemies far enough away from the mines that we can at least avoid them on turn 1. We see that there's a barb within striking distance, and Calgar can take it out with his active. We use Calgar instead of Titus because with Calgar's Gravis armor, he can take a few hits. We then bring everyone else over, keeping Titus forward but adjacent to Incisus, and we'll use Dante to soften up a warrior on the next turn before having Bellator bring in some Inceptors. Then it's about taking out the remaining warrior. Just like with 24, once the barbs don't have a synapse buff, they no longer matter. Battle 26 is where my attempt to use Incisus and Titus at D1 finally stalled. D2 worked, D1 not so much. We again have a barb quite close, so we really are left with no choice but to take it out. We can move Calgar and Titus over so Titus will get Calgar's buff and one-shot the thing. Then it's about getting into a defensive formation to absorb the ensuing attack. With Titus in the tall grass, he gets suppressed from the barb attacks, but he survives with a fair chunk of health. As always, we have to form up a defensive pattern, preferably with our vanguard on tall grass, and then try to engage the barbs in melee outside of synapse range and take out the remaining warriors. I think I made a mistake in the penultimate turn, since I could have easily gotten all 4 barbs into melee, but somehow I made it through. Battle 27 is actually one of the easier battles, and to be completely honest, I think once you're past 25 and 26, it's basically a cakewalk. Yeah, maybe not a cakewalk, but it's a lot easier for some reason. And yes, 27 does happen to be the first battle where you have to face a Tyrant Guard, but honestly, the Tyrant Guard is more of a distraction than a threat. So start out by forming up into a defensive posture, letting the enemy come forward, and then your focus has got to be on either isolating the barbs or taking out the warriors and then isolating the barbs, and hopefully staying alive, of course. So Titus can actually charge on the next turn, taking out a barb, and you can bring Incisus up next to him for the revive. Meanwhile, Dante can get into range. Mephiston can come around. Dante and Mephiston can go to town on some of the warriors. This is what we talked about. Mephiston's active is amazing here. And then because Dante's in range of the warriors and the barbs, you can have Bellator summon in, and his summons are going to go ahead and wreck one of those barbs. The other one is currently within melee range, of course. It's also within synapse range, so that's an issue. But there's only one barb left, and it's not going to wreck your entire squad in the meantime. From here on out, just focus on the warriors. Kind of ignore Tyrant Guard. You can take him out if you want first, but honestly, I think I made a mistake by focusing on Tyrant Guard. I think it's much better to try to take down the warriors first. 28 might seem scary at first, but again I think this level is all about the opener. We need to look at the damage dealers on the map, and in my opinion it's really the barbs and the warrior. Winged Prime and Neurothrope, assuming we heal away the Neuroparasite, don't pose too much of a threat. So let's go after those barbs on the right, where you can use Dante to take out the first barb, then Bellator to punch a hole through for Mephiston to take out the other barb. There we go, the barbs are gone. Now what we really need to do is focus on the warrior. Titus can take out a Hormigaunt and just remember to park Incisus next to him. And then on the next turn we can gang up on Winged Prime, and I would expect Neurothrope to target Titus again since he'd have a Neuroparasite. Incisus will resurrect him, and then the rest of the battle is history. The map for 29, to be honest, is kinda effed. We start out on low ground, and no matter where we move, 2 barbs are within shooting distance. So let's just turtle and draw some fire with Titus. Since we have no warriors, only Nero can give Synapse to the barb, so we can engage them in melee pretty easily. Once the barbs are gone, neither Nero or the guard pose a threat, and it's just clean up from there on out. Battle 30, what we came here for, the boss fight, where if we can beat it, we can raid and farm a mythic upgrade material. I don't know why Snowprint did this, but honestly, this is the easiest fight of the entire mythic tier. There's only the boss, 2 guards, and a bunch of gaunts. We can hold back on the first turn, then absolutely unload on the field on the next. Simply stay away from the boss while you're fighting, take out the gaunts and the guards, and then just go to town on the boss once it's isolated. Again, easiest battle of the whole campaign, even though the boss looks scary. It's a Tyranid guild raid boss, they're just a bunch of punching bags. So again, when the battle starts, just pull back. There's no need to move forward and expose yourself. Now, I personally would recommend that when you have gaunts in range, you actually focus on taking them out. Those 2 Tyrant guards do make it a little difficult because they're going to keep the... On this turn, they're not going to give their major defensive buff just their big target, but in the following turns, if you don't take them out, they are going to significantly reduce the damage that you can do to the other ones. So let's go ahead and use Dante and Mephiston to absolutely unload on one of the guards. We can use Titus to take out a gaunt. We can use Bellator to just summon in a few units right off the bat. And we're already down a couple gaunts and a guard. So it's not absolutely necessary, but you can keep Incisus healed up if you want. Or Titus. In my opinion, as long as Titus is next to Incisus, he's going to get the revive anyway, so it doesn't really matter. On this next turn, you can take out everybody that's left. Okay, Tyrant Guard had a little bit of health left, but no big deal. You have, I think it was 5 or even 6 turns for a lightning victory in this battle, and even though the boss has summoned in a bunch of Ripper Swarms, you should have the firepower to do it. I again would focus on taking out all of the ads first before going after the boss. I think it's just easier, and the boss tends to stay away, doesn't really engage in combat. As always, you want to keep Incisus next to Titus, and it's what I said, given the choice, I would always heal somebody else before Titus, simply because Titus will get a revive if something kills him and he's next to Incisus. Whereas other units might not be so lucky if they get overkilled. Final turn to finish off the boss. Again, thanks to Mephisto and Dante, this is actually a rather easy task. And there you have it, the boss fight is done. I did tell you it was the easiest of them all. And there we go, you can now farm mutant forms at a ridiculously low rate. If you manage to get through the campaign with any of the core characters below Diamond 2, I would love to hear about it. And if you manage to get through it with them at Diamond 2, but you couldn't finish the boss fight, just drop me a line in the comments or in the Help How Do I on the Tacticus Discord, and I'd be happy to upload a video to YouTube. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. I do intend to do at least one more video for the Tau campaign, and if we get a new campaign event to finally farm the Venerable Battle Mark, I will do my best to also make a video for that. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and you have a mythic day.